Everybody needs to talk to their spouse. They go buy stuff on their own. They'll go and buy a car. But when it comes to insurance, I need to speak to my wife because wife really cares about what's in their policy, especially if they're getting more coverage and more protection. Yeah, they really care about you switching. I'm Jason Feldman and welcome to another playbook. Today we're talking about the last section of the sales script, which is overcoming objections. We already talked about all the things. So we talked about the opener, we talked about the connection, the proposal, the presentation, and now let's talk about the objections. This is a huge point of concern for your sales team, guaranteed. And I used to have this problem too. You get to this part and this is going to happen regardless. There are going to be objections. I would say probably 95% of the time. And you might close 10% on one call close, but 90% of the time, it's not gonna be a one call close. So you're gonna have objections, you're gonna need to know how to handle these, right? Because that is the case, because you get more objections, you almost get them on every single phone call. This is the part that when we get to that our sales team starts sweating, right? Oh, I hate this part. Ugh, they're gonna say this, they're gonna say that, right? So if this is going to happen and it's gonna be the biggest point of anxiety for your team, shouldn't we practice this? Shouldn't we have this spot on? So one of my favorite ways to do this, and if you've ever listened to us before, we always talk about this, is I would get a whiteboard like I had the other day, or I would just take a piece of paper out and talk to your team. Start writing down all the objections and then keep, kill, combine them. Keep them if it's something that's gonna be brought up consistently, or combine it if it's one that's like another one, or kill it, right? You're gonna wanna build a list, and it's probably gonna be about 12 objections. 90% of the objections are going to be known. It's going to be something that we've heard a lot before. So we're gonna write those down, and then we're gonna say to our team, how would you handle that? Oh, I would say this. And somebody else says, I wouldn't say that, I'd say it more like this. And then you can really tune this part of the script. I like having your team do this because it creates buy-in. You can write this all day long. I can write this for you all day long, but it's not gonna get the buy-in from your team. Remember, we talked about believers and really having that buy-in, keeping them on the phone, keep asking questions. That's the main point of this, and really get to the bottom of this. Remember, you're the doctor of insurance. So if you're the doctor of insurance, you need to keep asking questions. Why is that? What do you think your wife would say? Everybody needs to talk to their spouse. They go buy stuff on their own. They'll go and buy a car. But when it comes to insurance, I need to speak to my wife because wife really cares about what's in their policy, especially if they're getting more coverage and more protection. Yeah, they really care about you switching. It's such a BS objection. Objections are just so funny to me because you'll almost never get the real one unless you ask what, why, and peel that onion. Unless you peel it down pretty deep, really gonna know anything. I think the biggest objection that we're trying to overcome is how could they justify spending this kind of money on a freaking insurance that they're never gonna see a return on? I've never gotten in an accident. I'm never gonna get in an accident. On the last one, when we were talking about the proposal, we're trying to really paint these pictures of devastations that can happen. We see it all the day in our agencies. When you're doing your sales meetings, I wanna hear those stories. You tell a good story about some devastation and how it could have been avoided or how it was avoided or something, that will sell a policy very quickly. Especially, they have a daughter. Paint that picture and how big difference it can make in their life, in your life. In this section where we wanna just keep peeling the onion to get your team used to being uncomfortable. Keep asking questions, keep them on the phone. There's no reason to get them off the phone. If this part of the conversation is over 20 minutes, they're pretty invested in it. A sales agent can keep somebody on the phone for 35 minutes and say, oh, they just didn't really want the policy. Really? Because they loved hanging out with you for 35 minutes on the phone, talking about insurance and a bunch of BS? Unless you really did connect with them well, and then maybe it was that, but wouldn't they want that person as their agent if they really connected? Say, dude, you and I just spent 35 minutes together, and I was, to be totally honest, it was a really good time. I want to kind of keep this going, so I think you should buy this policy. You could get that ridiculous with it. But if somebody does stay on the phone, just look at the evidence. The evidence is they kind of want the policy. So that's why you got to keep asking the question and peeling the onion. But what we want to do here, when we build those 12 objections and the way to handle them, is we want to have that on autopilot. So when you hear that, can you email me the quote? Absolutely, I'll email it to you right now. Tell me when you get it, and then pop it up for me. Tell them, go into your email right now, open that email. If you say, can you open the email for me? They're gonna say, no, you might have to do this a few times. You might have to keep peeling the onion. Get to the real objection. Most of them you can pretty much overcome. If it's just straight money, dude, you need to say, listen, this is protection for you and your family. This is what I do for a living. I've seen many devastations from people lowering coverage. Because I take it so seriously, I follow up with my clients. I'm gonna be calling you every single day. Now, if this is something that you don't really care about the coverage for you and your family, then let me know and I'll take you off my list. But if you're telling me that this is something that you're interested in, then I'm gonna keep following up with you every single day because that's how much I believe in this coverage and that's how much I want this for you and your family. Call them every single day until they say, don't ever call me again. If you don't care about your protection, then I'll try to stop caring for your protection. It's not gonna be easy for me because I really do care about it and I'll take you off my list. It needs to be that kind of passion that you and your sales team have in this section to close the policy. So many times, especially in our program, we see agencies that get quotes all day long and can't close them. This is the problem right here. We are not passionate about this. We don't build out the objections. We don't practice them. Like this is one of the most important parts that you practice in your agency. This should be an easy part. You can even tell your team to tell them, I'm gonna be calling you back and forth. A lot of people like to talk, blah, blah, blah. We can waste hours doing this. That's fine. But let's just lock this in just so that you have the protection. You can always cancel later if you don't like your decision. But let's not waste your time. I know your time's valuable. You told me you work here. I know you want to go back there. So get your team to get passionate about overcoming objections. If this is a pain point and you guys can't close anything, this needs to be practiced like multiple times a day, over and over again until it's like so easy. Your team getting comfortable at being uncomfortable is the skill in all of this. So we talked about the sales funnel, the agent scorecard, the quote sheet, the believer's speeches, and the 4 parts of the sales script, right? The sales funnel, you got to be able to back your numbers out of it so that you know that if they do the activity, you're going to get this result. And I guarantee you, if you spend the time to do that, you're going to find that out. To quantify that on a daily basis and make sure that your agency is running, you have to have the agent scorecard and the quote sheet so that you know that you can just see on a daily basis whether or not you're doing the actions that's needed to get the result. So just have them believe. If they believe, they can do it. We've had agents that have sold over $50,000 a month and a PNC carrier that is way more expensive than other companies. And the policies were cheap policies too. The sales team were dominating to get that kind of result. So then you want to go to the 4 parts of the sales script, the opener. If you do that right, you're going to save 50% of your leads, actually turn those leads into a quote just by that first part and keeping them on the phone. Building a connection. This is the part that actually sells the policy. And then you get into the proposal where you actually sound like an insurance agent that knows what they're doing. I needed that part because I sucked at this when I first started. I needed to have this written down because I didn't know that much, but it made me sound like a pro. And it was so important. And then you have the overcoming the objection. And you practice those 4 parts, right? I know what you're thinking. Well, there's no way my team, they've been doing this forever. There's no way they're gonna do this. This is the thing. They can go off the script a little bit, but the script is for those road bumps, those things that might go awry to help show you a framework in which you can always go back to. So you can deviate a little bit, or your sales team can, but they need to know and memorize your sales script because they need to come back to home base if they get derailed. It's really what makes you sound like the doctor of insurance. I hope that this series can help you and your agency get exactly what you want. You can be a one-man shop and dominate. Like whatever you want, you're designing your own agency. That's what's so cool about this game. And it doesn't matter if it's 1 person or if it's 20 people, follow a process that you believe in. Follow a process that is tracked and measured. And I guarantee you, you're going to be able to get the results that you want. It might not work out the first time. It's just like working out. You don't get the results from working out right away. It takes a process. It takes running on the treadmill 30 minutes a day to eventually lose the weight, right? And this is the exact same thing. It takes so many leads to fill a funnel to get 8 quotes a day because we're only getting 2 quotes from that first 100 leads in that first day, right? We might get a smaller percentage out of the second day's calls, right? To start filling up those quotes. You got to fill the pipeline of calls, quotes, callbacks, calling a quote back every single day. Let's talk about leads. You got to call leads every single day. Follow a process. I really want to encourage you to do this, tuning up that process until you're building the agency of your dreams and giving the life to you and your family that you guys deserve. And if you don't like to make a change, well, you can always reach out to us. Our team would love to help you. I just want you to dominate at what you do and to be proud of what you do and build that legacy that you deserve. I'm Jason Feldman. That's a playbook.